practice, please give me an introduction to radical innovation.
Radical innovation in itself is just a term, but I think how we need to look at what is radical innovation, or what is it that we're trying to do in the concept making school, is to understand our history. And our history is that most of our leaders today and most of educators today are born and raised in the Industrial Revolution. And during the Industrial Revolution, incremental innovation was huge, because just minor changes to something, or just a step approach change to innovation, was actually considered fantastic. And however, the process is very slow, because you follow very specific models and processes in order to obtain your goals. So much of what we learn today in business schools, much of what we learn today in engineering schools, design schools, is a model of process. Now, we live now in the technical revolution. And it's, whether we like it or not, whether we use technology or not, it has changed the world we live in. We now live in a very rapidly paced world. You literally have the world at your fingertips. At the touch of a button, you can go anywhere you want in the world. Because of that, we are in a situation of change. And in change, there are two approaches. One is that people revert back to what they know best, which is this mode of incremental innovation, of following a process and putting your head in the sand. This model is not very effective in today's world. The two most important skills today are really flexibility and adaptability. Adaptability to change. And with that comes the approach within radical innovation. And all it really means is, if you want to come up with new ideas today, you need to explore the world around you. Get away from the models and processes either within your culture, within your education, and break free from them in order to see the enormous possibilities out there. You cannot come up with radical concepts and ideas if you stay blinded in the approach that you know best. I'm an engineer, I can do engineering. I'm an architect, I can do architecture. I'm a designer, I can do design. I can come up with concepts within the frame of a specific company, within this frame of a specific product. Those are all blinding you from the enormous possibilities out there.
Fantastic. In everyday life, where can we see those blinders? The 180 Academy's most, excellent goal is to remove those blinders. Where can you see, where can you feel this?
The blinders are seen and felt just about everywhere. It's quite interesting. The first way I can approach it is from a very broad perspective, from the organizational perspective. Companies all around the world today, top down, will come up with a approach to innovation, a process for innovation, a way in which we do things in our company. That's already the blinder. Even larger, the way we've been taught in business schools to approach moving forward is sending out a gazillion surveys to people. When we write a survey, we're already blinded in our approach. So the questions we ask are only as good as the person who's writing down those questions, and they are already blinded by a specific product need, a specific purpose, and so you end up getting information which is really close to what you actually wanted in the first place. So there you have a blinder on. Companies are also told to look at their competition. If you focus just on the competition, the best you can do is incremental innovation. You'll do a step better than your competitors. But then we have a problem, because if you really want people to come to you, you have to understand them and the people's needs, and then you can actually come up with products and services that are meaningful and relevant to them. That doesn't happen when you're only focused on your competition and your very blinded process. But within 180 Academy, our purpose, of course, is to help people understand their blinders, where they came from, and how to break them. And that was one of the main reasons for going down to South Africa.
Perfect.
Would you like me to continue on the blinders?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are, as I have already said, or actually I may not have, so we are blinded by our culture. We are blinded by our education. We are blinded by the organizations we work for. each of these has its own culture or subculture that tells us how we're supposed to behave, how we're supposed to come up with ideas. And the main purpose of South Africa was to be able to reflect on those blinders and understand how those affect us and how we can remove them in order to see the world for what it really is. Let me give you a couple of examples from South Africa. On day one, we went to Alex Township and walked through the back alleys of Alex Township in the shack town and actually went and visited some families. In the process of that, the first thing that came out was a discomfort of feeling like a tourist. Well, already there, people were having their blinders on because, yes, they had their cameras out and they were uncomfortable taking pictures. But once they realized that, in fact, they were the zoo, and the people were not the zoo that they were looking at, but the white people in that township were the zoo. And that people were coming out to look at the animals walking down the path, the white animals. And that gave them a little sense of comfort. And then there was a whole discussion around how do we communicate, how do we bridge this gap, this incredible exotic gap between the white Danes and other people who were with us and the black community we were in. And I remember one woman who is very well dressed, beautiful woman who's one of my students, who really wanted to take a picture, and I showed her how to do it, of literally going down to the level of the children that she wanted to take pictures of, and taking a picture and then giving a gift, offering a gift of showing that picture to the child. And suddenly she had children all around her, and the smile on this woman's face was, she suddenly realized that I can be right here in the middle of a very, very poor shack town. Now, as we progressed in the module, one of the behaviors that came over and over again, even though they were told, who are the experts? The experts were not them, my students. The experts were the people of Alex Township, the people of Soweto, the navigators in the business place who work with the clients, the people who actually want jobs and want their enterprises to be successful. Those people are the experts, not the white people who walk in from Europe and North America. What happened was they forgot that role. And in that process, they were so focused on what they knew best. And what they know best is simply that to be successful, you have to talk loud and follow a model and forget about everything else. And just the loudest person, the alpha male, wins the award. And that process we caught on film, we caught in photographs of groups that were formed that were a mix of the experts, the South Africans who live there, breathe every day the experiences of people trying to get a job, trying to get their company to be successful. And then you had my students who were to learn from this experience and learn to take off their blinders. And what they ended up doing was actually be so solution focused and so focused on who had the best idea that they're sitting at the board writing and didn't even realize that their South African colleagues had left the room. That realization was the realization of how deep our blinders go, our cultural blinders, our educational blinders that tell us to follow a model, to follow our thought, and to speak loudest and to get the attention. And they realized that that was wrong and were very humbled by the experience. And only then were they able to turn to the true experts and say, what do you guys need? And what can we do to help you?
We just answered the next question almost. Well, now first of all, we're going to talk about the what can the 180 academic students give to TBP? I was like, is there anything what this module can help the business place in the ongoing process?
When we made the choice to go to South Africa, I had one goal in particular, and that was that I didn't want my students going down to South Africa, taking a look, and not giving something back to the community there. So we found an NGO to work with, the Business Place, whose main purpose is to help individuals create and maintain sustainable, successful companies. Whether that company is a very small craft business, whether that company is something